Hello, everyone. This is Luke, the host of Holy Politics, my new little YouTube channel that I've been wanting to start for a while. I wanted it to be like a podcast for a while, but, it kind of turned into just a little, YouTube mini-series, just kind of going in, dissecting the Bible and dissecting politics, hence Holy Politics. I know. Very, very catchy and funny, isn't it? I'm kind of just want to jump right into this first episode of mine, since I'm getting used to it and trying to figure it out, and I'm not really looking to, grow my channel. If anything, this is kind of just me dissecting what I want to know and kind of telling the people who are willing to listen. I guess a better way of saying it is just me venting, almost. And the first thing I wanted to talk about was trials. What does the Bible actually say about trials, and discovering what it says in the Old Testament in comparison to the New Testament and together. Biblical references to trials and what the meaning and significance of that is. And I'm hoping to find some more insight and, basically related to the scripture that I'm going to go through, which is a lot. Trials is something we've been talking about in my little Bible study with my family and my friend. And my friend is, he's going through a trial right now. And like I said, everyone goes through their trials, whether you're a Christian or not. Whether you believe in God or not, you go through a trial. And kind of before I get into this, there are political things I'm going to talk about, when it comes to different communities out there. That's, different groups of people out there right now that with everything that's going on with our country, other countries, political agendas being thrown around. I mean, I'll just kind of straight up say it for anyone who doesn't want to listen to me. I'm a Christian conservative, so I'm going to have Christian conservative viewpoints and beliefs. But I'm hoping that I can at least share it with you, and if you disagree, then respectfully, let's debate about it, or let's discuss it, because I do agree with the concept of, when you're not able to speak to one another, when you stop basically acting on your freedom of speech with one another, then that's when a country really starts to go downhill. I forget who said that. I am taking that from someone else, but I agree with it. When we stop listening to each other, even though we disagree, that's when we as a society start to go downhill. So, but yeah, this is the first episode. I'm just gonna be kind of going through trials, and I'm gonna be jumping into James. I'm gonna be jumping into a lot of James, John, Romans, Proverbs. I have a couple here, and I'm gonna be reading it and not necessarily going into each one to study each specific Bible verse. It's mainly to just kind of overall, what are trials? How do we get through trials? How do we truly trust God in our trials? Because it's tough. It's tough to trust something I can't visually see. And I mean, yes, there are things about God that I can see, His Spirit, and I can see the things of this world that He's created. But when I say see God, I can't physically see Jesus sitting in front of me. So how can I trust something I can't visually see? Yeah, no, I said that right. I'm done. Visually see, to help me through my trial. And I'm kind of going to go over that and go in that a little bit. If you hear a baby crying, it's my son trying to go to sleep. So please, baby boy, go to sleep. In James 1, chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And I've seen people try to take that and be like, well, why would God basically force a trial on you? But when you look at it, it says whenever you face trials of many kinds. It's not saying God is putting that on you or giving you that trial physically. Like, oh, you know what? Today so-and-so is gonna get into a car crash because I need them to persevere and to be strong in their faith. No, I'm not saying that God causes these trials. And it's not saying here that God causes these trials. But it says whenever you face trials, consider it pure joy. My pastor, which just happens to be my father-in-law, a while ago, and it stuck with me, said something about, and I'm going to try to paraphrase what he basically said. When we go through our little trials, when we go through our little, crappy situations in life, it's easy to get really angry and just start cursing and throwing your fist up. Let's say, I got stuck in the snow, and my family knows I keep telling the story to use it as an example, but it's a good example. when I got stuck in the snow on my way to go do a hike, instead of getting angry and upset, I sat for a second, I prayed, I said, all right, let me figure this out. Let me not turn to anger for once. And it worked out for me. I got out of the snow. It's a little deeper than, I had to cut a bunch of branches, stick it under the tire, create a little path for myself. I was stuck in a ditch. It was really annoying. I was really excited to try out this new hike, and I get stuck in a stinking ditch. And again, what my father-in-law said was, turn to the Lord instead and praise him no matter what. Find the joy in those trials. And it says in verse 3, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. And what I've started to realize is when I let my anger go and I calm down, and in that trial I just trust, and I basically do the opposite of what I usually do, I do feel complete. I do feel more mature, and I feel way stronger than I did before. And it's not just a feeling, because a lot of people will say, well, okay, you feel that. That doesn't then show that God's helping you. It's a knowing. There's something in you that changes. It's not just, boom, I'm different. No, that perseverance truly does kind of get inside of you and change things about you when you constantly stay committed and continuously do it. And in James chapter 1 verse 2, consider it I already read that one, sorry. Wait. John, that's what I want to read. John chapter 16:33, take heart, I have overcome the world. Basically, I'm going to read the full thing. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Sorry, that's the full verse. I have told you these things so that you may have peace, right? So that in me you may have peace. In this world you have trouble, right? God never promised a perfect world, There's a lot to get into with that. It's well, if God's all powerful, is he all loving? If he's all loving, can he be all powerful? And I would say yes. Well, why say yes? Bad things happen, and it's when the bad things happen, atheists and people who don't believe in God will usually pray to God. Oh God, I don't know which God I'm praying to, but please get me out of this. And then they get out of it and they're like, all right, back to my normal life, which to me is just idiotic and selfish to me. But you know what? Christians do the same exact thing. When we're in our trial, we go, oh Lord, please, please, please. And then when we get out of it, we're like, okay, back to the usual thing. We don't stay committed to the prayer we were praying. We don't continuously live our life praising God for the things he does give us and get us through. We usually just get through that trial and we're like, all right, back to the norm. Because like I said in this verse, in this world you will have trouble. Again, not saying God's going to give us trouble, but the world itself is there's just going to be trouble in our way. And so what we need to do is, as Christians and non-Christians, even a non-Christian, stop basically feeling bad for yourself and going, boo-hoo, I'm stuck in a trial. Trust in the Lord. Let him get you out of that correctly instead of relying on your own understanding, your own heart, and, because, like I said, one more time, in this world you will have trouble. There's always going to be trouble around the corner. Every second, every hour, there's just always going to be something. And so we do have to take heart because the Lord already overcame the world. In Romans chapter 8:28, it says, we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. When you put your trust in the Lord, you are going to see change. And, even though it's easier said than done, you still have to do it. And not just trusting, but just, acting on that trust, kind of going into it. Right, I completely forgot I went over that point of if God is all powerful, he's not all loving. If he's all loving, he cannot be all powerful. That was from Batman versus Superman, my friend pointed out. And I like that line, but I also struggle with that line just as he said he had struggled with that line. And what I've learned to realize is that, yes, he can be all powerful and all loving, right? Well, then why do bad things happen? If he's all powerful and he can stop those bad things, then he's not all loving because then he doesn't care. And it's like, listen, most of the situations we find ourselves in these trials, we put ourselves there. We usually, obviously the death of a family member or something along those lines, that's out of our control. But that's also not God saying, I don't love you. There's a reason for everything, even the evil stuff that happens in this world, right? And even not, well, even actually getting into the evil stuff, right? The rape, the pedophilia, the horrible murders that happen 24/7. You look at Israel and Gaza and Palestine and all that crap going on. If God's all loving, why is he allowing that to happen? And then you got to realize, wait a second, we're doing that stuff. It's us doing it. How are we going to blame God? It's God's fault. Wait a second. No. People are doing that. People are murdering each other, committing pedophilia, committing rape, and doing all these horrible things to each other. That's not God doing it. God's, but he's allowing it. Why don't we step up and stop it then? Why are we allowing it to happen? Right? This is mainly for the person who doesn't want to believe in God. Why allow it to happen then? It's out of my hands. At that point, you're coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse. When you constantly blame God for something that you can do something about, to me, that's just sad. And granted, I do it too. I blame God all the time, and I try not to, but I get frustrated, I get upset. And I'm like, God, why would you let this happen? Why are you letting people get murdered, blah, 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 blah? And it's just like, wait a second. I'm sorry, I keep saying, wait a second. I'm going to say that a lot, but we can do something about it. And God is probably, for the most part, for most Christians, is calling them to do something, but a lot of us are saying no. Because it's easier to sit back and complain about it than to actually do something about it. And for the Christians who are doing something about it, and non-Christians, good for you, God bless you, keep doing it. But we have to stop blaming God. Romans chapter 12, verse 12, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. Be joyful in hope. When we're hoping for something, bring that joy to the rest of your family. When we're hoping for something, bring that joy into your own life. Be patient in the affliction. When you're going through the trial, be patient. Stop trying to rush through it. Pay attention to what God's trying to tell you. I can name my fair, my number of trials that I've struggled through and I failed in, or I didn't trust God. And it's like, I can look back and I said, if I had just trusted God and were patient in that affliction, patient in that trial, it would have turned out exactly how he wanted it to turn out. And then, you point out, well, right there. If he knew it was going to happen, is it not then him causing it? No, he's allowing it, knowing that it's going to happen. He's allowing it. That's the free will aspect of what we know. Right? Do you want to just be a mindless robot going, okay, now it's time to go to church, everything's perfect? No. He gave us that free will to make our decisions, and sadly, human beings are so evil, we make those horrible decisions to commit horrible atrocities on one another. But we also have good hearts where we want to do better, so the good of us need to start overtaking the bad. But we're not ever going to do that because people don't want to put in the work for that. People truly don't want change, because with change comes, building of your character and building of your perseverance and all of that. It comes a lot of hard work. So even though we all say we want change in our system, we want change, no one's doing anything about it because it's easier to just sit back, relax, and complain about it. Being patient in the infliction is so important when you're going through the trial. You got to be patient with the Lord, and He's our Father, too. You can question Him. You can be upset with Him. You can talk to Him because He can handle it. Have that discussion with Him. Talk with Him. Meditate with Him. Read His Word. I mean, there's so much you can go into. And then be faithful in prayer. Don't just pray and then go out and do these horrible, stupid things. And, a horrible, stupid thing could literally just be, you're just mean to someone one day. Like, I don't mean you have to go out, murdering or whatever, but when we're talking about faithful in prayer, sticking with it and actually putting in the work for the change in your own heart, because God wants to see you grow and mature, but you have to put in the work. And this is talking about, talking about trials. James chapter 1:12, blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, and that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. And again, there's the whole debate of, is God testing you? Is He, again, putting that trial on you Himself and testing you? And no, I don't believe that's what it is. When it talks about God testing us, it's knowing He's like, okay, you have a trial coming up, not that I created, right? It's just the evil of the world. So me getting into a car accident, right? And I'm alive and I'm okay, but now I've got to deal with this accident. What am I going to do? Am I going to sit there, curse, and get angry? Or am I going to be the one that's having stood the test? Am I going to pass that test where in that moment where it happens, he's like, all right, Luke, what are you going to do now? This happened. This sucks. And you're alive. You're good. I'm going to take care of you. But what are you going to do now? Am I going to react negatively, or am I going to react like a strong man who can handle these things and actually persevere through it? Blessed is the one who perseveres under the trial. In Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 through 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Let's just stop right there for a second. I have a brain the size of what? What is it? Like 2 fists or whatever? 2 of my fists. And I know that's like a really weird thing to say, but the reason I say it like that is because God is cosmic. He is so much bigger than what I can understand. So if I try to understand every little aspect of what I'm going through and everything, why, I'm not going to. I'm not going to lean on my own understanding for that situation. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not big enough. But God is. So leaning on the Lord, trusting in the Lord, and actually, putting your faith and strength in Him, you're going to start to realize that in verse 6, in all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your path straight. When doing so, don't lean on your understanding. He's going to make your path straight. Submit to Him. And it's not a submission of and people are so afraid. This is where I'll get a little political in the episode. People are so afraid of submission, right? Wives, submit to your husbands. We take that and we say, oh, it's like a slave thing. It's a weird misogynistic thing, and it's like that's not what what God's definition is different from ours. Our opinions of these words and things are not in the Bible. God's words are in the Bible, what He says. So I'm going to get a little political here for a second. We have to stop as a society, as a country, the United States of America, we're so soft and we're so sensitive about words. We're so hurt by words. I mean, what is it called? Microaggressions? That's a new big thing now. I don't even know what that really means. Matter of fact, I'm going to look it up while I'm talking about this stuff because I keep seeing that word pop up. Microaggression. I swear, what is it? Okay. It's a term used for... What's an example? A white man or a black or a woman clutches his or her purse or checks wallet as a black or Latino person approaches. That's a microaggression. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. Anyone that walks by me, I'm very cautious. I don't believe it's fully a race thing. This is where I'm getting maybe a little too far off. So I'll bring it back to God and what I'm saying. Sorry, I wanted to know what microaggression meant. That's definitely going to be another topic for another episode. Absolutely. So we have to stop looking at that word, okay, submission, and going, oh my goodness, that's so misogynistic, that's so sexist, or it's so this or that. No. It's not saying I'm a slave, or my wife is not a slave to me. Submitting is trusting in me, relying on me, allowing me to help her when she needs help, and letting me lead her in this household. There are things that she's going to be able to point out to me, and this is kind of just in marriage. When it comes to God, I'm not going to be able to point out things to God, but that's what it's talking about. Trusting, relying, putting your faith in something bigger than you, Christ. I hear opera singing. I think it's my neighbor. A fun little fact, he sings opera really loud. It's not bad, but it's random and weird, but I'm not judging, whatever. I don't think the microphone's even picking it up, so it doesn't matter. The submission to God is not this like I'm submitting and tapping out type of thing, or I'm a slave to it. The song, I'm no longer a slave to fear. As Christians, that's what we mean. And Christianity isn't even really a religion, it's a relationship. That's the difference between us and everything else, is we're not following a bunch of set rules. We're living close to Christ, and in that, there are a set of rules that we see and understand as to why there's a set of rules like that. And that might be a little contradictory to what I'm saying, and I'm sure there's a better way of me explaining it. Maybe I will at some point, but I'm trying to kind of rush through this a little bit to get to the end, because I'm not trying to make this too long. About 20-minute episodes, 25-minute episodes is what I want to keep it at, depending on the topic. Maybe 30 minutes might be the max. And I'm going to kind of end it, because talking about trials. All right, yeah, so how do we get through these trials, right? And I kind of was saying it throughout is like trusting and leaning on the Lord. But it takes work, man, and it's not easy. Even when you don't want to. This is what we have to understand. Even when we don't want to, through our trials, trust in God and rely on God, or even understand why He's allowing it to happen, and we get frustrated, all of that doesn't matter. We still need to do it and persevere through it with God. That's the problem that a lot of people have is, okay, when someone goes through their struggle, you have all these people around them giving them Bible verses. It's like, no, but what do I do? Well, I'm telling you what to do. No matter what, you got to persevere through it, and you got to trust even when you don't want to, and it's really hard. It's easier said than done, but it still has to be done. And so my prayer for everyone listening, whoever is listening, and if you're going through a trial, I just pray that you trust in God and you let go of what you feel or understand about the world and realize that the God of the universe has your back. You just have to rely on Him and not be so afraid to rely on Him. And don't constantly question every little thing. Trust. There are things in the Bible that people can debate, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you're going through your trial, it's all about trust and trusting through it and not giving up. I mean, you've got all these motivational speakers telling you not to give up. I'm telling you, God is telling you not to give up. Don't give up. Trust Him, because there's better things down that path. It's gonna be okay. So anyway, thank you for listening, whoever did decide to get to listen. I'm going to be coming up with other little topics. This one was pretty quick. I didn't, there's more questions I can probably have thrown out there. I might do a part 2 to this episode. This is just kind of what I had in the moment. So I'll see. Maybe I'll do more to it, because there's a lot. Even in those Bible verses that I skimmed through, there's a lot to actually dissect. And I could probably spend an hour dissecting it and each word almost. But I don't want to do that, so we're not going to do that. So thank you for listening, and I will see you guys next time.